that we want to reverse. And this is typically because we are lucky to have reasonably good average rainfall, but we are unlucky to have uneven distribution of that rainfall. We get rains only 30-40 days on an average in the country, and rest of the period is dry. But in those 30-40 days, we get reasonably good rainfall. And our challenge is, how do we make sure that we store that water? Now the question is, where do we store that water? Do we make only surface water reservoirs? Or we make sure that we also store that water underground, which is a huge reservoir. And we need to make efforts in terms of making sure that the water that is available to us, given by the God for 30-40 days, how do we make sure that we keep an equilibrium in terms of our net storage of water, whether it is surface storage or underground storage? And this is the challenge that we are looking at. So we have water bodies which are shrinking and polluted, and we need to reverse this kind of situation. And this is where we started working on. If you look at the Ganga River Basin, Ganga River Basin has an area about almost 1 million square kilometers, 3 countries, 11 states of India are part of the Ganga Basin. If you really look at the entire river, we have divided them into 3 parts, depending upon the kinds of issues and the problems that we have. The upper stretch, which is from origin, and when we say Ganga, by and large, Ganga is just not one stream. Ganga for us is Bhagirathi, Ganga for us is Alaknanda, Ganga for us is Mandakini, Ganga for us is Pindar, Ganga for us is Nandakini. All the major 6 streams, I think, are part of the Ganga, right? So we have to look at Ganga in a totality. So we just cannot say one stream of Ganga, we have to talk about all streams, and up to Devprayag, they are all streams, and then from there, Ganga starts up to Ganga Sagar. So we have to look at this entire system in totality, not just look at one stream. And the issues that we have in the upper Ganga segment is a very highly sensitive and fragile ecosystem and biodiversity. We cannot tamper with it, right? Because there are certain things, if it is irreversible, we can take care of, we cannot take care of it. Reversible things. So the pollution part, I am still very confident the day we learn how to take care of wastewater, our rivers will become clean. But if we tamper with our ecosystems, very sensitive ecosystem, we will not be able to recover them, right? And this is the challenge that we face in the upper stretch of the Ganga, from origins to the point, you can say, up to Rishikesh. And we have to be extremely careful on this. And this is the stretch, or this is the segment of the river where we have potential for harnessing hydropower. And the country, the nation at large, and particularly the Uttarakhand, is facing this challenge. How do we make sure that our rivers are all right, and yet we take advantage of the potential hydro potential, and make sure that as much power. So the challenge before the engineers and technologists is, how do we design power plants which do not disturb the river, and yet we are able to harness the hydropower? I think we have not given enough attention on this. We just do kind of cut-paste technologies. Whatever technology that we knew for the past 100 years on developing hydropowers, we have not deviated from that. And today there are possible, world over, we will have a discussion on this. It is very much possible probably that we keep the continuity of the river and yet develop this, but we will have to deviate from our regular routine kind of hydropower models. Okay, and we have a discussion on this, and hopefully in times to come we'll come up with the solutions on that. If you come to the lower Ganga stretch, middle Ganga stretch, which is from Haridwar, and mostly this is the Uttar Pradesh part of it, Haridwar to Varanasi or wherever, we have issues of water extraction there. Okay, much of the water is taken out in the lower Ganga canal or upper Ganga canal for the farmers, for the irrigation purposes. The challenge for us is, how do we involve farmers so that they on their own reduce water demand? We do not tell them that your water will be cut down. Our proposition is we involve the farmers and tell them these are the technologies which are available, this is the cropping pattern that you can do, this is how you can mix horticulture and agriculture, this is how you can have the mixed cropping, organic farming and reduce. And what we tell to the farmers is, if you reduce water in your farming and return back to the nature, return back to the purpose of Ganga, you will get benefits. And this is what one of the things, financial instrument or model, economic model that you were saying, can we give water credits to our farmers? If they save water for the sake of river, can we give credits to our farmers? Okay, this is some kind of, so in that case the innovation will come from the ground root. Our farmers are very smart. They can adopt to new technologies, they can come up with new technologies, but we have not given them the opportunity to do that, right? We do not recognize what the good work that they do. So this is something that we want to look at involving. So water extraction is one thing, and the pollution that goes is another thing. So on one side we will save water for the sake of, say, rivers, and other side we make sure that our wastewater does not go, right? And if we are confident in our technology, on STPs, why not we reuse and recycle that water, right? The moment you adopt a discharge paradigm, that I will let this wastewater go, the monitoring is important. And we do not have good monitoring mechanisms. Our regulatory instruments do not work, and they are not likely to work, right? So the best monitoring can be done if people monitor. So if the treated water comes back to us, stays in the pond which is in front of my house, I will make sure that the treatment plant works, because otherwise that pond is going to stink. But if it is flowing into the river, nobody worries about it, because we have made rivers as our backyard. Rivers should be our living rooms, right? And this is the concept. Every city should take pride that the river is flowing from my city. And people should be ready to go. Today, in situation like Yamuna, nobody wants to go close to the Yamuna. Why? Because we have made this condition. So our priority should be, we leave water for nature, and whatever reuse, recycle, treatment that we do, we reuse and recycle. And if you are confident, if you do want to release the river, in fact, other day we had a discussion on some other conference, Devashri Mukherjee is here, she is the CEO of DJV. I requested her that why not we do this? We do recharging, and if you are so confident, why not we put treated water upstream of Wazirabad, right? Then Delhi will be so careful in making sure that STPs work. And this is the proposition we are making for each and every town. Okay, and let's see whether it is workable or not. In times to come we will look at. So this is modified through human intervention in terms of flow and discharge of wastewater. When you go to the lower side of the Ganga, from Varanasi to Ganga Sagar, the issues are altogether different. Issues of floods, okay, distribution of sediments, and so on and so forth. So again, we need to have a different strategy and this thing. So we are looking at that. So summarizing about the Ganga, is the largest river basin, covers 40% of the population, so we have to be extremely careful. 500 million people are supported on this huge region, okay, and we have huge opportunities in terms of business with respect to wastewater. Okay, I will not talk about business with respect to water. I will only talk about business with respect to wastewater, effluents, the responsibility part of it. And I would like to give this challenge, how economically you can do this and then yet make your own profit. I have no problem, because business is important. If you talk about privatization, somehow we have a misconcept about privatization, but if you look at it, whatever is on my body, whether it is shirt or a watch or a mobile or whatever, everything comes from private sector. Nothing is government about it. Okay? So why are we afraid about transferring this responsibility part to the private sector, but we have to make sure that the business is done in a very fair way. Right? And we need to understand this, and that is where all partners have to come together and realize what kind of business is this. Okay? So we are into the preparation of the Ganga River Basin Management Plan, and we have set a vision how our Ganga should look like. Okay? The first thing that we want to show is, we must give a person status to river. Right? So already we believe in it. So a lifelike person as Mother Ganga, which is considered holy by most Indians. So this we have to keep in mind, that rivers are personalities, right? And we cannot abuse them. We cannot do any kind of things with the rivers, okay? particularly with Ganga, is also the world's natural heritage, right? And we cannot afford to lose that, particularly in the upper stretches and the lower stretches of the river Ganga is extremely important, and we cannot afford to temper. Once we temper it, our natural resource will get lost forever. So this we have to, we cannot just talk about economic, So let the economy develop as a byproduct of protecting the environment, not have the focus of economy and then say we will look at environmental impacts and somehow make sure that those things are taken care of. So this kind of change we are looking at. So river, we want to make wholesomeness, and we are defined what do we mean by wholesomeness of the river. The first point is, if you say river, it must flow. Nowhere it should get stopped. There should be continuity and there should be some flow in the river for the sake of nature, making the ecosystems survive and sustain. No pollution. And please remember, when I'm saying no pollution means no pollution, right? Even treated wastewater, so far as we are concerned, we do not want to let that go directly into the river. Let it get stored somewhere. Let it flow into our canal systems. Let it get recharged to groundwater, and let the groundwater feed to the river, right? And Rajendra Singh is here. He has shown, Anna Hazare, he has shown how rivers can be survived. A river can be, rejuvenated, right? This is the example that we want to multiply at a larger scale, how we can increase through groundwater recharge the base flows in the river so that our rivers continue to flow, okay? So we are doing the entire basin modeling studies and looking at where exactly the recharge brackets, where we can store surface water, where we can retard the flow of surface water so that it does not gush into the channels and then flows into the sea, but it gets stored somewhere or the other, both on the surface as well as. We have Manrega scheme, right? We can utilize this scheme very well in making sure that all our lost water bodies are regenerated, and in fact we talk about green cover. Why not we talk about blue cover? Right? Every city, every town, every village must talk about, we have 5%, 2%, whatever that we come to, that every village, every town must have that much of water body or water cover on that. Okay? So these are some of the things that we have. No pollution in the river, and recognizing the fact that river system is a geological entity and of course ecological entity. So this is what we are keeping. We view this river and the entire basin is like a big banyan tree. Normally we say that the leaves are supported by the stem of the river. It's the other stem of the tree. It's the other way. The stem is stronger only when the leaves are healthy. And the same concept is there in the river basin. If each and every watershed is healthy, only then your main channel will become healthy, right? So what Honorable Chief Minister talked about, if we cannot take care of distributaries, whether it is Yamuna or Chambal or Betwa or whatever, each and every distributary, each and every pond, reservoir we need to take care of, only then the main stem of Ganga will be all right, right? And that is only a indicator for us. If the Ganga is not all right, it's not just river Ganga is not all right, entire basin there is some problem somewhere, people aren't happy about it, and ultimately we want to look at the well-being of the people, right? So if Ganga is not all right, it means the entire basin there is some or the other issue that is. So we want to look at river Ganga as our symbol, and every day we should be able to go and see how the health of the river is, and if the health of the river is all right, probably our entire basin and the people are also okay, right? This is the concept that we want to look at and take it forward. Okay, so for the study purposes, what we have done, we have created various groups because we realize it's a multidisciplinary. So we start with socio-economic and cultural aspects of the river. We look at the ecological and biodiversity aspect. We look at the fuel geomorphological aspects, look at the water resources management aspect, and of course the environmental quality and pollution aspects. And it's not only science and engineering or technology that I said. We need to look at our policy frameworks, laws, and governance mechanisms, right? So we need to have a complete relook at how we make our policies, how we make what laws we have, what governance mechanism or models that we have. We will be dealing with a lot of data, okay? This is the first time many ministries have been generating data, but the data lies with each of